Hey, I'm Chad Atkins, and we're here at this 2017 CSPC conference in Ottawa, Canada. I'm very pleased to welcome my guest to my left here, Mr. Fayyaz Baqir, the O'Brien Fellow at McGill University.
McGill University, yeah.
McGill University.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. The first question I have for you is just tell us a little bit about your work, what it is you do at McGill, so that we get a picture of your background and who you are.
Actually, for the last 30 years,
Yeah.
I've been working with low-income communities in every nook and corner of Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, interested in poverty alleviation, inclusive governance, improvement of environment, all various issues that these communities confront, and they have a barrier in accessing public resources to meet their needs. In various capacities, I started my career in community development with Aga Khan Rural Support Program.
Mm-hmm.
In northern areas of Pakistan in 1987. Subsequently, I worked with other donor agencies, trust for voluntary organizations. But for the longest period, I was with United Nations.
Okay.
I managed their small grants fund, and subsequently, I was their senior advisor on civil society of the whole UN system in Pakistan. Mm-hmm. So that is my background. Mm-hmm. Before that, I was a campus activist in Pakistan. So in various ways, I've been trying to influence the course of things in my country.
Yeah. So, okay, as a follow-up question, I know that you wrote an editorial piece for the CSPC that's on the website. And I wanted to give you a quotation. So it was about the role Canada should play as a leader in peacekeeping.
Yeah.
And the quotation I wanted to say to you is that you said, for a lasting peace, Canada needs to take a lead in building a body of frugal sciences.
Yes.
And when I read that, I was very interested by that, because to me, I didn't quite know what frugal sciences was, what that term means.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you could maybe explain what that is, the role that it plays in this.
No, it's very important, because there is an immense wealth of knowledge possessed by people whom we consider illiterate, mm-hmm. low income, mm-hmm. dispossessed, disabled, whereas they are very resilient people. Mm-hmm. They survive in very adverse circumstances, and they create their way, and they create a wealth of assets which have not been even computed except by Hernandez de Soto, mm-hmm. who says that the wealth possessed by people living in informal settlements is many times the total wealth owned by world's all stock exchanges. But their body of knowledge is also very, very useful in helping us deal with the issues which we are trying to tackle. Mm-hmm. For example, Jeffrey Sachs said that all the developed economies should allocate 0.7% of GDP to help alleviate poverty in the rest of the world. But De Soto says that the wealth they already possess, it will take 150 years to spend the 0.7% to be equal to the wealth they already possessed. So their knowledge is very important. So that is what I mean by frugal sciences.
Okay. That's interesting. Cool. Yeah. No, that's a good explanation. I know tomorrow you're speaking in a session titled Science at Risk.
Yes.
So the question I wanted to ask you is what role do you think the scientific community should play in forming science policy?
Yes. I think there are three fault lines, as I should say. To put it very succinctly, I would say that, like a free market economy, we think gives greatest happiness to greatest number of people. That is in the sense that it meets all the needs which are generated by the market. Mm-hmm. But what needs are created before we go to the market mm-hmm. to ask for satisfaction of those needs, that is not determined by the market. Mm-hmm. So why we are looking for goods or services mm-hmm. which alleviate our fear? Why do we look at others as a source of fear, not as a source of hope? Mm-hmm. Why the world is allocating 40% of its resources for production of weapons of mass destruction? Mm-hmm. So that is one thing, that we have to make a transition as a global community, mm-hmm. as an economy of war to economy mm-hmm. of peace. Mm-hmm. And that is why where Canadian scientific scientific community can play an important role. How to help us? You know, we are living in an age of unprecedented abundance. Why do we have a scarcity mindset? Why are we afraid of others? Why can't we learn to share? This is one fault line. The other is that we have to move from fossil fuel-based economy to a carbon-free economy. There again, science has to play a very important role. That how can we free ourselves of this? And the third is from moving from a profit-based economy to socially responsible economy. Because as the generation of wealth is increasing on an enormous scale, so is the inequality between people. You know, a very small number of families now own equal to half of humanity. And you know, we have malaria, typhoid, waterborne diseases, infant and maternal mortality. And we have all these resources and we can't do anything about it. And recent issue of Economist says, rich people have a problem of spending their money. They don't know how to spend their money. They have got so much. So if on these three fault lines the scientific community works, we can help the whole global community make a transition from a conflicting community to a peaceful community.
So we're here at the CSPC. Do you think there's people here that can address some of these issues that you've raised? Or do you think this is a good community for starting to tackle some of these problems?
I think this community can do. The important thing is to become aware of the agenda. You know, what should be our agenda? One thing is very important. We confuse means with ends. Science is a means. Wealth is means. Technology is a means. It is not an end. End is human happiness. And the greatest measure of human happiness is freedom from fear. Freedom from scarcity mindset. Now, the entire scientific community is focused on means. And ends have been relegated to the domain of religion or spiritual or metaphysical. So how do we connect with the word of metaphysical or spiritual? It doesn't necessarily mean to be sectarian or shallow or narrow-minded. So scientific community has to find a way to build bridges. The whole task of the scientific community is to build bridges. You know, from fuel-based to carbon-free, from profit-based to socially responsible, from war-based to peace economy, and from fear to hope. In these four areas, I think scientific communities need to build bridges, and they need to come up with nuts and bolts of building those bridges.
That's a fantastic perspective. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
So for anyone watching at home, if they wanted to find out more about your work or your research, where could they go to do that?
I am on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, okay.
If they type my name, Fayyaz Baqir, they will find it. I am on ResearchGate.
Okay.
They can find my pieces over there.
Perfect.
But my short think pieces are on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's the place to go.
Where I've talked about de-radicalization, about building bridges, about poverty alleviations, about depending on the knowledge of the poor, which is very, very important. I want to mention this especially because we equate illiteracy with ignorance and irrationality. Poor people are very sharp. They are very calculating. They know that 2 and 2 makes 4. So they're rational. They only don't have a tool of recording and saving their ideas and knowledge in a written form. But they're no less wise. They are no less educated. They're no less knowledgeable. That's very important.
Thank you so much for this conversation, and
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Great to meet you. Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you.